Last night, as President Obama proposed his $447 billion jobs program, he promised it would be paid for, but he didn't say exactly how.
I am sending this Congress a plan that you should pass right away. It's called the American Jobs Act. There should be nothing controversial about this piece of legislation. Everything in here is the kind of proposal that's been supported by both Democrats and Republicans, including many who sit here tonight. And everything in this bill will be paid for. Everything.
Joining us now, Maryland Congressman Chris Van Hollen. He's the leading Democrat on the House Budget Committee, also a member of the so-called Super Committee on Cutting the Deficit, which met for the first time on Thursday. Good to have you with us this morning, sir. You meet for the first time on Thursday, and then you get a little bit of a new task from the president last night, where he essentially said, look, I know that you are tasked with coming up with $1.5 trillion in reducing the deficit, but could you throw in another $400 billion or so?
Right.
And your fellow committee members said this makes our jobs really difficult.
Well, the president's making a very important point here, which is that the fastest and most effective way to reduce the deficit is to get people back to work, to get the economy moving again, because every day that the economy is stalled is another day that not only are American families hurting, but it's another day the deficit gets bigger and bigger. So we can do two things at once. We can walk and chew gum. We can move to get the economy going. That will reduce the deficit, and come up with a long-term deficit plan that gets above $1.5 trillion.
And are you confident that you can find this money, that the 12 members of the Super Committee are able to do this? Because Senator Kyle's speaking out afterwards and saying, look, if there are deep cuts to defense spending, I'm out.
Yeah, that was a little bit of a curious statement, because if we don't reach an agreement, defense spending gets really badly cut. So we're going to have to talk to Senator Kyle about how we work that out. But I was pleased that on a bipartisan basis, members of the committee said they wanted to be ambitious, meaning that they wanted to do more than $1.5 trillion in deficit reduction. After all, the bipartisan commissions, Simpson-Bowles, Rivlin, Domenici, they did about $4 trillion over 10 years.
Do you think there's enough in this plan to get the economy started, as you talked about, to be able to do these two things at once?
I do think it has the right mix of ingredients. It's got proposals that, as the president said, a lot of our Republican colleagues have either proposed or supported in the past. Tax credits for small businesses, more money in consumers' pockets, so they'll go out and buy more goods and services, so that businesses then have the money to hire people. And then the infrastructure component. I think every American knows that we've got bridges that need repair, schools that need renovation. We have 14% unemployment in the construction area. Why not match those things up and have a win-win?
Is there anything in here that you see causing a problem for the president?
I don't think there's anything in the plan that will be a problem for the president. Now, if what you mean by that may not get through the Congress, we've heard some positive response from the Republican leadership in the House, but I'm really hoping they'll also support the infrastructure part and the part that will help prevent layoffs for teachers.
And you bring up an important point. We've heard some of that positivity from the leadership. Representative Cantor was here with us this morning, but we're not hearing that from all of the Republicans. So what was your sense last night in terms of how the rest of the party may work along with their leaders?
Well, that's a very good question, and only time will tell, because there were points in time when the leaders responded positively, but everybody else seemed to sit on their hands. Of course, at other times, everybody sat on their hands on the Republican side. Look, we are approaching the 10-year mark of September 11th, that terrible day when the country was able to come together and rally to meet a challenge. We face a big challenge now with the economy, with people out of work, with long-term deficits. I hope we can recapture a little bit of that spirit in the days ahead.
All right, we'll be watching. Appreciate your time this morning, sir.
Thanks
for coming by.
It's good to be with you.